Hello everyone. In this video, I want to discuss about something that a subscriber emailed me about, and something that's I've gotten past it in recent years, or it's probably been a long time since it's really been an issue for me, probably half my life ago, to be honest. But it's something that I think is very important for kids growing up to be able to learn and cope with, and I think also for parents to know how to handle the situation as well. And basically, what that is, it's bullying. Now, when I was in primary school, and I first started primary school, I was alright. I had it pretty easy the first couple of years. I went to a good primary school. This is back in the late 80s. And if a kid bullied me or anything like that, the principal was right onto it, and before I knew it, the matter was resolved. Now, that's just in the first couple of years of primary school. What actually happened after that for me was that I was living in the city at the time, so it was a good school in a nice city area, but what ended up happening is we moved out to the countryside. And for whatever reason, country kids aren't as domesticated as city kids. The parents are not as, I wouldn't say they're more wild, but I think parents have to spend more time traveling to work. Therefore, they're not as home as much for their children. Things are a little bit more expensive, so they have to work harder and longer, and whatever reason. And I find that the kids, are basically taught how to be decent kids. They're basically got whatever bad influences that come into their life, they adopt them very quickly. And that was the thing that I learned once I moved up to the countryside, was that I went from a school where most of the kids were well behaved, not all, but most. Everybody was kind of mature for their age, even though we were like 6 or 7. But coming up into this environment, kids were a little bit wilder, they were a little bit rougher. You had kids at 7 riding motorbikes, this kind of stuff. I came from a world of Ninja Turtles. I was a Ninja Turtles fan. I was crazy about the Ninja Turtles growing up. I had Ninja Turtle everything. I had Ninja Turtle sheets, Ninja Turtle blinds, Ninja Turtle jumpers, all the figurines, the video game, all the episodes recorded on VCR, all that kind of stuff. And when I came into this new school, Ninja Turtles was kind of something kids thought was kind of a bit geeky. And I as a 7, 8-year-old, I didn't understand why. I came from an environment where everybody thought it was awesome, And so I got bullied a fair bit for that. Like, I got pushed over by kids, I got kicked while I was on the ground, I had lunch money taken from me, all these kinds of things that, the typical victim of bullying cops, And I didn't know how to handle it. And the reason probably for that was because my mum, growing up, came from, the 50s. Her parents are from the 50s and 60s. So basically, in those days, everybody treated everybody with respect for the most part. You still had your bad kids from time to time, but they were like the minority, Most people just ignored them. But as times went along, society started to change, and the bad became more prominent than the good. And so my mum, just not adopting to the way of life because she was always herself, never really knew how to handle or to be able to guide me in a way to deal with this kind of situation. So I came to school, I was completely lost. I was like, why are they bullying me? I don't get it. What have I done wrong? Like, I thought I'd done something wrong, like I was out of touch or whatever it was. And I remember sitting there going, Mum, what have I done? And Mum's like, it's not you, son. It's just the way kids are up here. I don't know what's going on. And, my mum did her best, but I don't think my mum knew how to cope with it either, or how to deal with it. Well, the matter of the result was that I moved schools after a year. So I was there for 1 year. I copped a pretty hard time for that 1 year. And my mum moved me out into another school. Now, fortunately for me, After the first few weeks where I did get bullied by one kid, again, I didn't know how to deal with that situation, but for whatever reason, it subsided. I had a few good years of not being picked on and things like that. So I got through most of my primary school, and even late, probably my last year of primary school, I was actually quite popular. And I don't know how this happened, but it did. But as soon as I went into high school, I still had that innocence about me that my mum had always taught me, to respect your elders, respect, people who are higher than you, older than you. Even if they're only a couple of years older, you respect them for, the fact that they know more than you. And that doesn't apply very well in high school at all. Because when I got to high school, it was the kids that were 2 years higher who would influence the kids of my year to come after me, and I, in year 7, which was the first year of high school, was bullied pretty badly. And, I'd had this one, it's always this one kid that you have that comes after you. And this kid specifically, who was giving me a hard time, I actually gave him a chance. He actually wasn't well liked by a lot of the kids at school. And so I went on to be friends with him, at first, because I was the one, felt sorry for the kid who had no friends, that kind of thing. That was me. I was always the one who had the soft soul and tried to make everyone fit in. Because at this point, I had the friends from primary school. I still had those guys as my friends. Because you hadn't established new friendships yet in high school. So for the first few weeks, you're kind of okay. But over time, this guy was not favoured by many people, so I gave in and went in to give him a hand and became friends with him. The problem was that because of my soft nature and the fact that kids 2 years higher and above me took advantage of that, so to speak, they basically pushed the others that are in my same year level to kind of turn against me. And all of a sudden it became the guys who were my friends just a year ago had immediately become my enemies. Because they wanted to impress the older kids, And that's kind of what happens. You got people trying to impress each other, so they don't get stepped on. And some people do it because they're scared, so therefore they punch up other people so that they don't get punched up. You get all this kind of behavior that changes in all these different kids, and I was always the same. Like from grade, from the first time I stepped into school to this point, I had always been the nice guy who treated everybody with respect and treated everybody evenly, and that's how I was taught. That's how my mum taught me to be, and I didn't know any different. So this continued for a few years. I got to probably my third last year of high school before it gets into the 2 main years of your high school life. And again, it just got so hard on me, I had to leave school. So I left halfway through year 10 to go to another high school. Finished off my year 10 in a new high school. Problem was the new high school was still linked somewhat to the high school that I just left. And that was because in my area where I'm at, everybody kind of knows everybody. And that's the problem with small towns. Like, I know there's people out there who, they hate city life. City life is too much for them. It's hustle and bustle. Trust me, you go to these country towns, everybody knows who you are, and you don't want to be known sometimes. And that's what happened here. I didn't want to be known by these new kids. I wanted to go there, do my time, and get out. That was essentially what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I got there, and the people from my previous school had communicated with the people of this school to tell them what kind of kid I was. I'll go bully him. He's such a nerd. La la. So I went from a kid who was pretty quiet, stayed to himself for the first couple of weeks, to being the target again. So sometimes changing schools doesn't help. And again, I was still soft, and I was getting picked on. At the same time as this was happening, my mother and my father were falling apart, and my dad was divorcing, or my mum ended up breaking it off with my dad because my dad was basically cheating on her. Even though to this day my dad still admits he hasn't done anything wrong, we all know that he did. You know, all the evidence was there. I'm not going to go into what I think there. It's really nobody's business, but I had to deal with the turmoil of that. Being the eldest child too, you know, I had a sister who was 4 years younger, doesn't quite understand what was going on. I had a little brother as well who was 13 years younger. He was only like 2 or 3. So being the adult of the house, or the oldest child of the house, being confused with school, and then having to deal with this as well. Watching your mother break down because she couldn't deal with the fact that she'd been cheated on. And then we had issues with our home, and we lost our home, and all these other things. And having, like, churches donate us food because they feel like we weren't making enough money, you know, and feeling poor. All these different issues that were going through my mind, you know, and then try and still be myself, you know. It just got to the point where I ended up leaving that school too. And basically I'm sitting there to myself one day when I was, we'd moved from our house to a rental house because we couldn't afford to live in our house anymore. So we lost our home, we were in a rental, and I could see everything was going downhill. Like my mum's life was going downhill, my life was going downhill. My sister's was in a balance, like, because she was able to maintain friendships, but even hers, you know, sometimes people would give her a hard time because of what was happening with me, you know, that kind of thing. My brother was too young at this stage to fully understand what was going on, but you knew it was going to affect him in later years at the rate it was going. And so I sat there one day, I was at the table, and I was not in school, I was not working. Mum goes, you have to do something, otherwise, you know, we're going to get into trouble. So I chose to go to a TAFE college, which is kind of like it's not quite high school, it's not quite university, it's somewhere in between type school. And I studied IT for 6 months, something like that. And I remember getting to the end of that, and I said, look, this is the crossroads I have in my life. I know that I've got it. I know I'm smart, and I know the only chance I have in life is to be able to be successful, you know, in whatever I do. Up to this point, I had everybody push me down and try and hold me down against something that I knew I could do. Because the one thing I always knew about myself, I knew I was a smart guy. You know, I knew that whatever was going to happen, I was not suited for manual labor. I was not suited for digging holes in the ground. I'm not suited for manual labor. I was a bookman. You know, I was a tech guy. I was all these things, right? I do well in maths. I do well in science. So, you know, maybe not as well as I would like to, but I knew that this is the kind of thing I was. So basically what I'm getting to about the bullying here is that you have to get to a point in your life where you've just got to stop. You just got to go, you know what, this is what it is. I'm not going to stand for it anymore. I might get hurt, you know, because if you're not built strong, like I know there's a lot of kids out there that if they're listening to this, they're not built with all the, you know, strong muscles, great, huge body, that kind of thing. You've got to be prepared to get hit, okay? You've got to be prepared to know that whatever happens at school, that it's just school, okay? There are things like, there are certain limits that obviously I would sit there and say you can't handle, such as if you're literally getting punched up every day, like flat out hurt, then something needs to be done about that. Otherwise, you know, if it's just things like people pulling your hair or people spitting on you or whatever it is, right? Just deal with it, because at the end of the day, you're going to get through school, you're going to end up better than they are, you're going to be in a place they won't be, and you're going to end up being the better man for it. Okay? And I know this for a fact because that's exactly what I've done. Okay? I've seen people who have come and go beyond my years, that have kind of made nothing of themselves, and they were the ones bullying me. And so today I can sit back here and I can say, you know what? You got me then, I got you today. We live longer. You're going to live longer like that than any time that I spent with you bullying me. You might bully me for 3-4 years, but you're going to live 3-4 decades in poverty and in, mediocrity and all these kinds of things, So that's how you got to look at things. Even at 15, you've got to have the maturity to sit there and go, you know what, this sucks. It really sucks. I don't deserve this, and you don't deserve it. Okay, I don't care what anybody tells you. You don't deserve it. I don't care if you're not the best looking person. I don't care if you might have some mental issues or emotional issues. That doesn't matter. That doesn't make it your fault. And so you've got to try and gather that strength. And it's not easy. And I know people up there are probably saying, well, it's easy for you to say. Maybe it worked for you, but it doesn't work for us. I'm not saying it's easy. All I'm saying is that if you want to succeed, your motivation to succeed has to outweigh anything that they can do to you. Anything. Like, you got to sit there and go, no matter how much they put me down, I've got a target. I've got something that I want to do in life, and I want to succeed in that area. And I'm not going to let some idiots who bully me today get in the way of that. And that's what you have to tell yourself. The other thing I would suggest, and this is more for the parents now, right? This is not a world of 1950s, 60s anymore. This is not a world where, you do unto others you want done unto you, all that kind of crap, right? That whole, I don't do anything wrong by somebody else because, or don't do to somebody else what you don't want done to you, that kind of thing. I don't 100% agree with that, and the reason why I don't agree with that is because people do things to you anyway, even if you don't do it. So this is the thing that I would say. If you know your children are going to be well-balanced, beautiful kids, honest kids, because that's how you're going to train them to be. So you're going to train them to respect their elders. You're going to train them to respect, the chain of command, to respect other people, that kind of thing, right? That's okay. You can do that. The one thing I would say to you is that you should also teach your kids to defend themselves. And I don't mean by using words, right? Because using words starts fights, okay? And that's the thing that, parents don't look at this. They go, oh, just use your words. Your words will get you out of trouble. No, they won't. You might zing the living hell out of somebody, right? And what's he going to do in retaliation if you make him look like an idiot? He's going to punch him, all right? And if he punches him and your kid's not prepared for it, then he's going to win ultimately anyway, even though your child zinged him in the first place. Words do not win fights, okay? They don't. What wins fights is good defense. Okay, and the best way to learn defense is to put him in to some form of defensive fighting classes, whether it be boxing. I'd recommend boxing, or put him in karate. And don't tell anyone they're in karate either, because the minute somebody knows that they're doing some kind of martial arts, they get targeted left, right, and center because everybody wants to challenge the martial arts guy. All right, you're gonna put him in these kinds of schools. You tell no one. You take your kid, you get him a bunch of boxing gloves, you take him to a boxing class, and from the age of 5, 6, 7, right, as soon as he's able to lift up some gloves and start moving in a punching cycle, get him going. Tell him to learn combinations. Tell him it's exercise at first, right? And if he loves it, allow him to continue with it, right? And I'm not talking about teaching them how to punch somebody up, okay? You've got to have that mental capacity to teach your kid what's right and what's wrong, and when it's right to defend yourself and when it's right to attack, okay? That's what you've got to do as a parent. It's not up to the child to sit there and know what's right or wrong. If you teach them defensive fighting, you got to teach them when to defend and when to attack. Okay? And if you don't know that when a child needs to attack, and a child needs to attack when they're most threatened, right? Don't wait for the kid to get hit, right? What you do is, if the bully comes over and he starts pushing your kid, right, and he's the head bully of the group, and your kid can box, right? He knows how to box. So he's got some combinations. Hit first, all right? My dad used to say to me, and he was right, but he was wrong when he said this. Oh, go and hit the big mouth, right? Today that still applies. The problem is, when my dad said that to me, he didn't give me the tools necessary to be able to make it easy for me to achieve that task. Like when I was growing up, I didn't know how to fight. I wouldn't know the first boxing move. And to be honest with you, today I still don't. But if you teach a kid at an early age how to defend themselves, and therefore how to strike when they're most threatened, then they'll know how to do it. Okay? Then it makes sense to say, hit the big mouth. Because people might say, oh yeah, but then your kid will be in trouble. You know what? Yeah, he will. Okay? He will. He'll get in trouble. He'll go to some detention or something like that. Right? But I guarantee you this, that kid won't come at him again. Right? He won't. And if he does, he's an idiot. Because he'll get knocked down again. Why? Because your kid's good at fighting. Right? He can defend himself. Right? And eventually, he is going to stop. He's not going to want to keep getting punched all the time. So what does that mean, right? If your kid gets in trouble, right, it's going to be a one-time offense, maybe two-time offenses, right, depending on whether someone else wants to challenge him, right? But eventually, it's going to get to a point where your kid doesn't have to fight anymore. He doesn't have to. Everyone's intimidated by him. Okay? That's what you have to get to. If you want to have an easy life through school and you want to be a good person and you don't want to get bullied, that's what it's got to take. And it's up to you as a parent to pull that off. Okay? Don't expect the child to know how to do this. So teach your kid. So overall, this is the summary of everything. Teach your kid proper manners. Teach your kid respect. Train them properly in terms of how to treat people. So, in other words, don't teach your kid how to box, but then say he can box anybody. Okay, that's not proper. That's not proper etiquette. That's not proper manners. Teach your kid, look, this is not for fighting. All right, this is not for if you don't like that kid over there, you hit him over the head. Okay, that's not what you do. If you don't like that kid, you walk away from that kid. So there's still that. Let's do the right thing, right? But then you take it. But if you feel threatened, i.e., you're getting bullied, right, and people are out to humiliate you and make you look like an idiot, you have the tools now to strike him in the face. And I don't care if he hits first. Hit first. Why do you want to get hit? Take them down before they take you down. Okay? Don't sit there and wait for the bully to push you or hit you. He wants to open his big mouth. You hit him right in the gob. He won't do it again. Okay? And you will get respect from that group, that bully group. They'll stay away from you. Right? But you've got to stay who you are. You've got to stay true to yourself as well. If you're going to do this, you've got to be true to who you are. Your friends are going to be who your friends are, regardless of whether you can fight or not. Alright? These are the things that you need to teach your child. Now, people might say, oh, have you got children? You know what? I don't have children. Okay? But as a person who got bullied, and as a person who knows what it takes to get beyond that, and to know what I could have done to prevent that from happening in the first place, this is why I'm giving this advice. At the end of the day, every person should know how to defend themselves. Put your kid in the defensive fighting program, whether it be martial arts or boxing. I would recommend boxing because boxing, if you try and start kicking, that's considered much more that's much more dangerous. than if you're just using your hands and your fists. Because at the end of the day, right, one punch in the face, right, is enough. It's enough. Punch him in the face, put him down, or make him look like a fool. That's it. That's all you need to do. You don't need to kick him while he's down. You don't need to trip him over. Or even like just having enough moves to be able to put him on the ground. Like just spear him. Not literally like really at spear to hurt, but do a takedown. Know how to do a takedown. And put him on the ground and pin him. And make him feel useless and weak. Right? The same way he's trying to make you feel. Right? Put that back on him. Right? Make him feel vulnerable. Make him feel weak. Make him feel like you've got the upper hand. Right? Once you do that, he will leave you alone. But don't run around bullying him once you know you've got the advantage. Don't do anything like that. Be yourself. Be that same nice person that you are. Be kind to your elders. Be kind to authority. As long as the authority doesn't abuse you, be kind to authority. Right? And that's the other thing too. If authority starts treating you like crap, don't worry about treating authority nice then, right? Treat them with the same crap that they treat you. Like at the end of the day, the authority, the respect needs to be mutual. Okay? If you've got an old person and they treat you like crap, don't be nice to them. But if they're a lovely old person, you respect the living hell out of them. Because they have paved the way for you in your future. They have done stuff in their life that paves the way for your future. They've made a commitment to society. And they are owed that respect. However, if they treat you like garbage, then they haven't earned your respect. Okay? That's what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to bullying, respect your peers, but learn how to defend yourself. And that's what I'm going to say so far about this. So thank you for the email, and I hope this helps. I think I rambled a little bit, but that's okay. I think I got out the gist of what I wanted to say. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.